from your perspective and from what you know from Puerto Rico market, what would be your recommendations, not only with inflation, but for economic development that Puerto Rico focuses on based on what you've known and learned about the island's economy?
So obviously I'm not going to tell you or others what you should be doing or giving, we don't make tax policy, we don't make policy, but I will speak as an economist, so I'm not going to dodge the question. It's a really important question. And it's a question that you think about some of the themes of some of the challenges here. Puerto Rico has some unique challenges, but a lot of them really are about labor force and skilled labor force, about infrastructure, they're about housing affordability, which is a national issue. And so as an economist, I often joke that I only know two words, supply and demand. So what's the issue here? And I think this gets to both the inflation question and the effects of tariffs, but also the growth question. How do you reduce inflationary pressures in your economy? You increase supply. You create a more vibrant economy on the supply side. And some of that might reflect making it easier to start businesses or expand production or things like that. Again, not giving any specific advice, but things that expand the availability of housing supply, things that expand the availability or kind of build the supply side or infrastructure of the economy that supports economic activity, I think are really important. And I think that hits both the kind of making the island, the costs lower, more competitive, and that hits the inflation side, but then also I think on the economic growth. So when I think about it, when I think about the kind of growth prospects, there's really three ways you can grow an economy. One is through labor force growth, and that includes the education of the labor force and the skills they have. Two is really through investment in businesses and infrastructure, and the three is through innovation. So if the more that whatever it is that can help those three things, grow faster, be stronger, I think those not only propel development and economic growth, but also can be an offset to some of the cost effects that we're talking about.
You brilliantly exposed the value of data. So given the transformative impact of the fourth industrial revolution on workforce skills, automation, and economic structures, how are you preparing to assess that data and value it for it to become an asset and a potential disruptor of all the markets, particularly in the sectors that affect us and the technologies like AI that I developed and I'm deeply engaged with and concerned because I see in Puerto Rico backlash, I would say, of what is happening around the world. You, with that access to data, how are you assessing that data to turn it into an asset for the new industrial age?
Yeah, and really thinking about AI broadly.
More into deep technologies, deep tech.
Right. Yeah, no, this is obviously a hugely important set of questions. I'm going to say set of questions because when you think about us at the Fed, we do multiple things. Like one is, we make policy and monetary policy. We supervise financial institutions, including the largest banks and some of the largest banks in the world. So we have to understand what they're doing. And we are in a way, the eyes and ears of financial markets of the New York Fed, understanding what's happening in U.S. and global financial markets and the U.S. and global economy. So for us, I think when you think about all these, and we carry out, implement monetary policy in markets. So we're not just academic studying things. We are actually interacting with financial markets and the economy and with the institutions that are doing this. So for me, and I'll try to be brief on this, I think our approach on this is one is try to really understand how these new technologies, what they are, how they're being used, whether it's data analytics, whether it's use of unstructured data, whether it's artificial intelligence, but I mean this broadly, really try to understand how they're having experts talk to us, gaining expertise in that. So we need to be really kind of knowledgeable about it. The second thing we need to do is understand how it's being used around the world in financial institutions and the economy. And then thirdly, like how do we actually harness the data and the analytics in our carrying out the work that we do, and do that in a way, if you think about AI, for example, is to think about how do we use these technologies in a way that helps us do our job, but obviously is secure from the point of view of, kind of exfiltration or, issues of data getting out there. So I think these are areas that we're very focused on. We're pretty, careful organization that we don't try to, ourselves, just grab the latest technology. But we are experimenting in a safe way by learning how to use some of these tools. We've been doing large-scale data analytics for a long time, but again, I think the right answer to your question is we need to be engaging, learning, studying, and thinking about how these things affect how we do our job.
Puerto Rico from 2011 to 2020 had one of the lowest GDP growth in the world, right next to Sudan, Libya, Venezuela. 2013 to 2020, we had the bankruptcy, the fiscal oversight board, the hurricanes, and the COVID, significant net transfers, and we're still, struggling to grow the economy.
Mm-hmm.
We have the third largest migration, net migration of any state, and the number one if it's per capita. And we found that our economic freedom index by the Price Institute is the lowest, 2 times lower than the lower. So it's basically 2 to 4 times harder to earn a living in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And out of 83 cities, we became last on ease of doing business. So as we're driving policy changes, because obviously that means we have some structural issues, what will be the role of the New York Fed to help drive the structural changes that need to happen at the policy level to let people contribute to the growth of Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so I'll be quick on this. The huge set of issues you raised are important ones. Our role is we don't have a direct role in making policies or, we do have a role in helping, I think, bring experts together, bringing the data and analytics together with stakeholders and working closely with the stakeholders, whether they're nonprofit, the government, or the business community. But we don't have a formal say in any of this, so our job is, as always, is to, I think, be a good resource for the stakeholders to make decisions. We're running low on time, so let's see if we can.
Yeah. What are the key factors of the economy that you can identify that right now is in our hands to work with them so we can become attractive to those enterprises that maybe are in China or in other countries around the world to go and come back to Puerto Rico and invest in Puerto Rico and in our workforce?
Well, that's again a very complicated set of issues. But what I think it's investing in some of the core infrastructure that makes this economy work. So that could be education. We've heard definitely questions about having better education, K through 12 education more than the college, because that's very strong. Thinking about continuing to strengthen healthcare, but also I think creating this. When someone like you asked, do I want to go there or stay here? One of the factors is, what's my standard of living? And obviously the quality of life here is fabulous. That's not the question. The question is, how much will I earn? If I have a family, how will I, educate my kids? How will I take care of things? And so I think anything, things that are developing more high-paying jobs, stable, high-paying jobs here, addressing the affordability issue of housing, addressing some of the other kind of issues like education. I think those are the things that will make the biggest difference. And none of those are easy. People are working hard at those. But if you want to kind of change that conversation, do I stay or do I go? You're going to change the big factors that influence it, which I think from what I've heard often are in these kind of areas that I just mentioned. Now, the good news is, of course, a lot of people who may leave for a while and take on other jobs and do that, come back too. So it's not a permanent decision. Well, good luck with your own decisions.
Thank you for that.
Well, President Williams, thank you very much for your time. Thank you to the Chamber for